I get emails from time to time, and I get comments on this channel. And sometimes the comments go straight to spam because you included like a bunch of web links and the algorithm reads it as a spam comment. And then I have to go in and try to approve it later, which, isn't always the easiest thing. And sometimes you approve it and it doesn't actually approve it because YouTube's a little finicky, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the deal. People have been trying to tell me in many different ways that Bernie is a sellout. Those are the verbiage they use. Bernie's a sellout. Ron, you need to recognize that Bernie's a sellout. So first of all, what does that mean? And second of all, do you think Bernie's a sellout? And if your answer is yes, because my answer is no, and we'll get into that. But if your answer is yes, okay, but explain to me why and explain to me how. And if your explanation is his account tweeted some Russiagate stuff and he said some Russiagate stuff on MSNBC, I would say, yeah, that's annoying, but I don't think that qualifies him as a sellout. And I say no, I say Bernie's not a sellout, and here's why. Because to me, by saying Bernie sold out, that would mean he, A, accepts corporate money that he said he wasn't accepting before. Which, I mean, unless you guys know something I don't, he has not done that. Or B, he's abandoned his platform, which he also has not done. He still stands for the same platform. So since he has done neither of those two things, I would not call Bernie a sellout. Has Bernie made mistakes? Of course. Has Bernie frustrated me? Yes. Will he do it again? Of course. He's a human. He's flawed. And he's trying to play the game. Do I wish that when I was in Washington, D.C. for the Convergence Conference, he would have been there, he would have accepted those signatures, and he would have been like, you know what? We're doing this. We're starting a new party. Yes, of course. Of course I wish he would have done that. And I'm sad that he didn't. And I'm disappointed. But he made a judgment call. He's playing some kind of three-dimensional chess. He said chess. Oh, I'm still waking up, guys. Come on. Chess. And so I wouldn't call him a sellout. He's made mistakes, of course. Bernie's not perfect. Nobody is. Nobody is. All right, so let's see what you guys think. Jessica says, my answer is hell no, Bernie ain't no sellout. Andrew says, no, Bernie is not a sellout. Lady Veg says, no, and the reason why is I think Bernie is playing a long game. 2018 Bernie is different than 2016 Bernie. No doubt about that. Frederick says, all right, so how is he different? In what way is he different? I mean, because here's the other thing. Some people, and so far I'm waiting for some people to say no. Let's see, or yes, he is, just so we can have some dissent. Dan says, Bernie saw what happened to Ralph Nader and never forgot it. He is convinced that breaking away from the Dems, they will destroy him. That's an interesting input, and I think you're probably right. What I would say to that, though, is Ralph Nader didn't start a movement the way Bernie did. Ralph Nader was never the most popular politician in the country like Bernie still is. So I see what you're saying, Dan, and I think you're right. I would just say if I could talk to Bernie, I'd be like, hey, Bernie, you got to recognize some differences here. Maybe Bernie's being humble. Maybe he's like, no, I'm no more popular than Ralph Nader. And I'd be like, no, you're like way more freaking popular, dude. If Ralph Nader walked by a group of school kids, the school kids would be like, who the hell is that? And that's even in his prime. Bernie, we saw what happened when Bernie Sanders walked by. He was treated like the freaking Beatles. Nader got the largest vote share for a third party in close to a century. I'm not trying to make fun of Ralph. Well, I am poking fun at Ralph Nader because I'm a comedian. That's what I do. I poke fun at people. I'm not trying to downplay Ralph Nader or how popular he is. I'm just saying he does not touch Bernie Sanders as far as what he's accomplished and the people he's mobilized. That's just, Sake, Nader, largest vote share for a third party in close to a century. That's awesome, and I applaud Nader for that, and I'm a fan of Nader. But I mean, even that fact alone, it's like you're basically saying, like, yeah, Ralph Nader did really good in a college basketball tournament. Well, Bernie almost overthrew the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm saying. Nader was no celebrity. Exactly. Because he wrote a book about seatbelts. You can't be a celebrity if you write a book about seatbelts. You'll only ever be so cool. Right? So in 2016, I was a donor of Bernie and defended him even after they stole the primary from him. And Bernie says, I am a Russian troll. Yeah, I get it. That was frustrating to me too. That was annoying. And I was frustrated by that. Does that qualify him as a sellout, though? I don't think so. I think it means that Russia is slowing down. Oh, shit. Are we okay on the stream? Are you guys good? Can you see me okay? Irvin just points out that Russia is slowing down my connection, which I need to make a couple of phone calls if that's true. If Russia is slowing down, they must have mistook me for somebody else. My connection is supposed to be good. I am paid by Putin. You guys know me. I am Ron Placone. My favorite football player is from Russia, or my favorite hockey player is from Russia. Balthazar, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Wait, are you saying that the monumental excitement of I believe that she can win in Clinton-Kane wasn't good enough to mobilize the people? That's another thing. All right, so getting back to our question, and then we'll get into some news articles. Yeah, Hillary Clinton's campaign was about as inspiring as watching wet paint dry. But here's the other thing. When Bernie, some people are like, well, Bernie's a sellout because he had to endorse Hillary. I'm like, he had to. Underline the words had to. He had to do that. He had no choice. He had to do that. And if you listen to him when he was stumping for Hillary and when he endorsed Hillary versus when he was speaking about what he wanted to do as president, I mean, it could have been an SNL sketch on its own if it wasn't so freaking depressing. When Bernie, formally endorsed Hillary, he literally sounded as if somebody punched him in the stomach and twisted his arm and shoved him on stage and said, go do it, screw you. You know what I mean? Like it literally went down that way. He sounded so uninspired and so broken. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember. It was so hard to watch. And he had no choice. He wouldn't have been able to run had he not agreed to do that. He had to agree to endorse whoever the nominee was. He had no choice. And he literally sounded like someone just punched him in the stomach before he walked out there. And it sucked. It freaking sucked. So I just don't think, I mean, you can't call him a sellout for that. Like, none of us would be here had he not run in the first place. Because you know what Bernie said to me? Bernie said, hey, you know how you only think there's a couple of you? There's a lot of you. And the heartland wants to agree with you. They just have to get the right messaging. That's why this whole incremental centrist nonsense, it's over. You don't know. Now's not the time for it. Now's not the time for it. The Democratic Party is where progressive issues go to die. Sanders is leading people there. That's his purpose. Okay. I mean, again, how did he sell out? David, tell me how he sold out. He's picking an approach that you disagree with. That, honestly, I don't know why he's going that way. I don't know why he didn't just start a third party. I don't know why we don't give more consideration to green entry. I don't know why. I mean, the Democrats, it seems like their first priority is beating progressives. And Bernie's trying to tell people, come join this club that doesn't want me to be a member. Come join this. I don't get it either. That doesn't mean he's a sellout. That means he's choosing a different approach than I think I would choose. And I don't have the peek under the hood that he has. Frederick says, you need the backbone and balls to not do that. So to not do something you're contractually obligated to do. to not take a risk. No, you know what you really need a backbone to do? You need a backbone to go up against one of the biggest political establishments ever in the history of our country by taking no corporate money and mobilizing a movement. That's what you need a backbone to do. And against all odds, almost winning it. And if the DNC hadn't cheated, probably winning it. And then you have to accept your twisted arm. Yeah, I mean, it sucked when he did that, but he had no choice. I mean, he had to. He had to. I mean, yeah, he could have gone against the grain. He could have been like, the DNC cheated. He could have done, I mean, easier said than done. And I think if you or I were in that shoes, that would have been a tough call to make. So Ernie says, Bernie completely changed after he met with Obama at the White House and after the California primary. How? What changed? Again, I'm not saying like you guys are totally wrong. I'm just saying like, give me something concrete to prove your point. And you know, I mean, I'm not trying to be a cheerleader for Bernie. I'm just saying I wouldn't call the guy a sellout. Has he disappointed me? Absolutely. Will he disappoint me again? Of course. But as far as the most viable politician that has a chance at winning, he's still it. He's still the dude that stands for the platform I want to see, that has the principles I want to see. Strategically, is he perfect? Of course not. That doesn't make him a sellout. That just makes him choosing a different approach than me. And he's had more years of experience in politics than I've been alive. So maybe, just maybe, I'm going to say I hope he's playing some kind of three-dimensional chess that I don't even understand yet, and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to call the guy a sellout. If that changes, if all of a sudden Bernie's like, you know what, single pay is not the way to go. We need a more incremental approach, and we need to just help the ACA. And by the way, I just made this big deal with Exxon. Then he is a sellout. That is definitionally, then yes, Bernie sold out. Then Bernie mobilized the grassroots revolution, and he said, you know what? I found out a good payday, and I'm going to go here now. That's called being a sellout. Saying like, he should have just thumbed his nose at everything. But that's not a sellout. That's you know, saying you would have done things differently. And honestly, Convo Couch points out, I think we need to also take into account he is still a senator that had to go back to the Senate to govern. Playing ball was somewhat necessary. Valid point. Balthazar, thank you again. By the way, Convo Couch, Balthazar, thank you very much for your Super Chat contributions. I'm pretty sure it's purely because Dems and GOP control access to the debates. You don't think they'll raise the percentage to be on a debate and move the goalpost? Yeah, that's a fair concern. The Dems and the GOP will probably, I mean, they do everything they can to oust the anti-war candidates right away. And that's why they stifle third parties the way they do. I mean, in 2008, they did everything they could. They tweaked the rules to make sure Dennis Kucinich and I almost said Ralph Nader. Still waking up, you guys. Dennis Kucinich and Ron Paul got off that debate stage as soon as freaking possible. As soon as freaking possible. And that's something they'll continue to do. Balthazar also says, I think it will hit the fan at 2020 when they screw him again. He'll just give the giant middle finger to the Dems and win as a third party in a three-way race. Balthazar, I freaking hope so. I freaking hope so. I wish he would have said, you know what, Dems, screw you. I'm starting a party, and we're going to be a great party. I don't know why I didn't do it again. But that doesn't mean I'm like, Bernie's a sellout and I hate him now. That means I don't know why I didn't do this. And it frustrates me that he didn't. But he's still the most viable candidate out there. I'm not looking for a candidate that's going to make me happy 100% of the time. I'm looking for a candidate that stands by the principles I'm about. And honestly, my quote-unquote purity test really isn't that hard. Single payer, don't take corporate money. Everything else, there's some wiggle. Anti-fracking. Those really aren't those hard. Because guess what? If you don't take corporate money, the rest of those will just kind of fall into place. I don't know any politician out there, and if you can find one, bring them to me. I don't know any politician out there that doesn't take corporate money and is pro-fracking. Why? Because anyone that's paid attention to science 1 iota knows that fracking's freaking bad. Why would you be for it anyway? Because you take money from oil and gas. So if you don't take money from oil and gas, guess what? You ain't going to be for fracking. You're going to be for other types of jobs. Green jobs, sustainable jobs, a jobs program, infrastructure. We just built a freaking bridge that collapsed. You know why? Because we don't put enough into infrastructure. So let me get more to these chats because we got to start the actual show. This is why we got to expand the show, you guys. Now that we have a new format thing, which I'm really enjoying because you guys are awesome to talk to and you guys bring up some awesome points and you challenge my way of thinking. And I love that. So Ernie says, Ron, I think you misunderstood. I'm still pro Bernie. I meant he stopped talking about contesting the primary and kind of gave up. That is true. That is true. And again, I don't know. It's hard to weigh in on that. It's hard to, because we don't know everything. Like there's so much we're not privy to. There's so much that he was contractually obligated to do. It's one of those things. I think it was really up to us to, I think it was really up to us to really contest that. And we did, but it just wasn't enough because, you know, people just kind of told us to shut up and get in line because Trump's evil. And a lot of people did, and that's totally okay. Some people didn't. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You know, WikiLeaks revealed this foul play to us, and we did what we could, but there was only so much we could do. And could Bernie have done more or not? I mean, that's tough to say. It is very hard to be where Bernie is, but when I saw the young people in Washington cheering him like the Beatles, I thought there's some hope left. Me too. It was very inspiring to see. Yeah, Bernie has been super disappointing lately. I'll still probably vote for him if he runs in 2020, though. Why doesn't Bernie fight against the election fraud and voter suppression that happened in 2016 instead of the Russia crap? First of all, I think that's a valid point. I was very disappointed. Whenever Bernie goes into Russiagate, I'm disappointed. You know, like I'll just put it right. I've tweeted about it. I've talked about it. However, I think that's an example of him playing the game a little bit for 2020's sake. I think that's what that is. And I can live with that. Because you know why? When it comes time for policy and putting your chin out, Bernie still freaking does it. Here's what I'm talking about. When it came time to vote on the sanctions, Bernie voted against the Russia sanctions because of the consequences for Iran. And he did that because that was what he believed to be right. Politically, that was not smart politically. And when I say political, I mean like as a whole, as a 2020 run. That's something that will be used to smear him later. But he did it anyway because he knew that was the right thing to do. He believed that was the right thing to do, and he freaking did it. So, Frederick, and I understand your point, and I'm totally with you, but, a response to that, to try to be fair, what's a bigger thing? Sticking your chin out when it comes time to vote, or sending some tweets that are a little frustrating to read? I'd rather have the latter. I'd rather have somebody, first of all, it wasn't even his personal account, it was his campaign account that he had to turn over. He had to turn that account over. And yes, he said some things on MSNBC that were very frustrating. Again, it was frustrating, but I get how he's playing the game, and I get how he's surrounding himself with some insider people to play the game. And maybe some of the advice they give him isn't always the best. I mean, but when it comes to the big nucleus things, he's still there. So that's why I'm like, I don't think he's not perfect. Is he a sellout? I would say no. And yes, the Russia stuff is very frustrating. James says, I'm not giving up on Bernie. I'm not either. You know, yeah, I'm certainly not either. If he ran in 2020, he'd of course have my vote. Ron's standards are low. What are your standards, Mike? Tell me what your standards are. What are your standards? I want to hear it since mine are so low. If my standards are so low, why do so few politicians in this country pass them? Why do so few politicians meet them? If my standards are so low. And I think a lot of people have the same standards as me, so I guess you feel like a lot of people. Bernie rolled over like a well-trained dog at the convention. That's you know, real tough guy talk, Mike. You're very tough and you're very pure and you're certainly a man of integrity, and you know, all of us grovel at you. But he did what he contractually had to do. Had Bernie not run, had Bernie, someone who stands by his principles, is that your response to my question? Those are your standards. How has Bernie not stood by his principles? How does doing something he contractually had to do? He had no choice in the matter. He had to do that, or he couldn't have run in the first place. Had he not run in the first place, there's a good chance none of us would be here. There's a good chance this movement wouldn't be going on. Because again, what Bernie did, Bernie said to people like me, you ain't alone. There's more of you than you realize. Someone had to do that. Bernie frickin' did it. Someone had to do it. I wasn't going to do it. I wouldn't have known how. Bernie did it. Bernie did it. You didn't do it, Mike. You didn't do it, Mike. You have your great high standards, but you didn't do that. I didn't do that. No one else on this stream did it. Bernie did. That's what Bernie did. So no acting like scorned lovers because you didn't agree 100%. Yeah, don't act like a scorned lover because you. Bernie also said he isn't our savior. We have to save ourselves. That's right. And that's kind of similar to some Hold Steady lyrics, so I freaking like it. Good point, Winkle. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, does Bernie still support single payer? Yes. Does Bernie still support free college? Yes. Is Bernie still fighting for all those policies? Yes. Is Bernie doing his job as a senator when he has to and playing the game when he has to? Yes. Does that make him a sellout? To some of you, I guess it does. To me, it doesn't. If Bernie starts taking money from oil and gas, comes out in favor of drilling, comes out against single payer, then Bernie's a sellout. He hasn't done any of those things. He hasn't done any of those things. So, Mike, you want someone who stands by their principles. Explain to me how Bernie hasn't. And if all you got is, well, he did something he contractually had to do, where he had no choice in the matter. He sounded like he wanted to cry while he was doing it. He sounded like someone just punched him in the stomach while he was doing it. He was in a position that nobody envied. Bernie's flaw is he still thinks he can save what can't be. Maybe. Maybe. You might be right. We'll see. Because again, I wish he would have started that third party. I wish more than anything he would have done that. Not more than anything, but I really wish he would have done that. Winkle points out, Howard Dean, there's a progressive that totally sold out. Yes. Howard Dean completely sold out. He used to be part of the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. Then he started taking some big money and he got his mind right. He promotes single payer one day. He's a health insurance lobbyist the next day. Yeah, you want an example of a sellout? Howard Dean's a sellout. Howard Dean is a sellout. Hillary Clinton is a sellout. Look at what she used to say about healthcare back when her husband was president. Then all of a sudden, some big pharma checks came in. What did she say about healthcare on the campaign trail? Universal healthcare will never come to pass. You want stuff the rest of the world takes for granted. You just want a pony. So, guys, I guess to some of us, Bernie's a sellout, even though, I'll be honest, no one's given me a good reason why. I'm just being real with you. You guys have given some valid critiques that I share. But to me, what makes someone a sellout is when they compromise on the policies that got them popular in the first place to bend to the will of donors. And Bernie's done none of those things. As of the recording of this. Might he do it someday? Maybe. I don't know. I hope not. I feel like he would have done it by now. The guy's been in politics for a long freaking time. If Bernie was going to sell out, he would have done it a long time ago. But he didn't. So, no, I wouldn't call Bernie a sellout. A flawed human? Abso-freaking-lutely. Somebody who has made compromises to play the game to get where he's at? Abso-freaking-lutely. But a sellout? I don't think so. Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.